Okay, so before you start a colour, it's important that your client is gowned correctly. You need to have clean gowns and towels placed over your client with a plastic cape also to protect their clothing. The stylist should have relevant PPE. This is in the form of an apron, gloves, and the option of a mask and of goggles or visor. Currently, during COVID-19, the stylist is required to wear these, as is the client is required to wear a mask. As a stylist, always have your trolley set up with all the things that you're going to need for that service, and have that in a position to reduce fatigue and injury to yourself. Now, before any colour can be carried out, there are some fundamental tests that need to be carried out. The first one is a skin test, and this needs to be carried out 48 hours before your service. And to do this, a small piece of colour is applied behind the ear, and reactions that we'd be looking for which would stop the service from being carried out would be redness, itching or irritation of that area. If the client doesn't have a reaction, then you're safe to proceed with your colour. It is the law to do a skin test, and everybody has to have a skin test. The other two fundamental tests that you should carry out before all colours, the first one is an elasticity test, and this is carried out by taking a damp piece of hair between your thumb and forefinger, and you are stretching and seeing if the hair returns to its original length. Now, if you stretch the hair and it returns to its original length, this displays that the hair has good elasticity and the internal strength, the cortex of the hair, is in good condition. But if you were to stretch the hair and to return it to its original, it doesn't return to its original point, this shows that the hair has poor elasticity. So that means the cortex of the hair is in jeopardy. So any colours that you use could cause further damage, particularly if these colours are alkaline based, like permanent or lighteners. The second test that you would carry out is a porosity test, and this is carried out by running your thumb and forefinger up the hair shaft, and you're feeling if the hair feels rough in any areas. Now, often towards the ends of the hair could feel a bit more porous than it does at the root area. Now, this is really important when colouring hair, because if the hair has poor porosity, that means that area of the hair may absorb the colour much quicker. So that area, part of the hair, could take the colour quicker, or it could give you an uneven colour result. So to help this, you can apply a porosity leveller to those areas which are damaged or have poor porosity to give you a much more even result. So they're the three key tests that we should carry out before all chemical services.
Okay, so today we're going to have a look at our full head foils. I've already sectioned this head ready for you, so I'll talk you through the sections that I've done. I start my first section depending on where my client's parting is going to sit. Okay, so if they have a variable parting, they move their hair around, then I would set with a central section. If they'll always sit it over to one side more than the other, then I would have that section further over to that side, okay, to ensure that we cover that parting with enough foils and that we don't create a gap. This does then mean that when you divide these two sections at the side, you will end up with one that might be longer than the other, okay? Always use your foil to measure against your section size to make sure that you're not going to end up dragging that hair in from the sides, as that will create root drag and give your client a regrowth before they've even started. So we start with our front section, then we do a slight diagonal back section to the ear, okay, and we clip all of our hair nice and cleanly out of the way. Our next section would be through the middle, so from just above the crown to below the crown, generally sort of top or middle of the ear, and then we divide those subsections off from the side. Then finally we'll have our three sections at the bottom, or sometimes it might be two sections depending on the size of the nape of the neck and the density and thickness of hair. We divide that into three sections, and this is where we're going to begin working. We'll always start on our back section, as this makes it easier when it comes to removal of colour, so we can put our client back into the basin and rinse out the base without affecting the colour and hair that is still developing through the top. Don't be afraid to have your client's head tilted quite far forward if you need to. This will help you to get closer to the root when you're foiling. Also, if you need, when your client's sitting in the chair, to turn them towards you so that you can access the front, do so. It's really important that we get our positioning correct, not only for the colour application and to make sure that we've got an even application, but for our body positioning and our posture. If we're overstretching or leaning too much, that can cause damage to our backs over periods of time. So we want to minimise the stretching, the overstretching that we do. Okay, starting at the base of the section, I'm going to take about 1/4 of an inch across. The section size will be dependent on your client's hair thickness, okay, as will the weaves that you take or the slices that you take. So I will talk through weaving and slicing so that you can see the difference in the techniques. Weaving is an up-down motion. We then take our foil. These foils are already pre-folded, so you can use that fold, should you want to put your comb underneath, or you can add another fold to go over the comb, or as I'm going to do here, because I find this is the best positioning for me, I'm going to bend the foil over the edge of my finger, and I'm going to apply that right to the root. Today I'm using a bleach product to give a lightened effect to my client. I start towards the root area, just below the edge of the foil. Once you've got that colour applied, you should be able to let go of the foil and it should stay there. We then use our hand to support. On this section of hair, I'm going to take the bleach right the way through to the ends. The reason for that, this currently hasn't got colour on those parts. If the client already had colour here, I would make sure that I was just painting the root area so that I didn't create an overlap, which can, 1, cause banding, but 2, can also cause serious damage to the hair, resulting in a compromise of the condition and the hair breaking. Fold the foil up to the top, not overlapping the edge of the other foil. Stretch out with your comb, fold in half again, and fold the corners in. We don't squeeze our foils really flat because that takes our product off of the hair. So we want to allow that product to still be sitting on the hair there. Then we'll take our second section. To demonstrate a slicing technique, taking your section, take a small piece straight across the section. This will give you a much stronger effect with the foils and the highlights. And again, apply, making sure you don't go right to the edge of the foil. Going too close to the edge of the foil can cause seepage. What happens when we get seepage with a foil, we get what we call bleeds. This is where the colour has escaped from the foil and it's painted onto the hair either above or below it, and you get spotting. Bleach as a product expands during its development process, and we need to make sure that we've allowed for the expansion of the product during the development. When I work through the head and through the sections, I will start with my middle and work onto my outside sections. Again, through the middle section here, I will start in the middle and work out to these two. For the front area, I will start on the two sides and I will end with my front section. That's so that that hair isn't then in the way and making it hard to access the sections at the side, and it also is the methodical way of working. Also, it means that is the last section that needs rinsing out, and they will then make it easier to rinse out the rest of the colour. When you mix up your bleach product, don't mix up too much in one go. One, if you don't use it, that's wastage, and that's money that we're throwing down the sink. And two, our bleach, as it's developing, is losing power. So the longer that bleach sits in the bowl, the less time it's going to have to develop on the hair. So the fresher your bleach is, the fresher your colour will be. On this head, she has had previous highlights through the front and the middle section. So on those sections, I will make sure that I'm not overlapping any of that colour to avoid creating any damage to the hair. These sections through here, because it is new hair or not previously coloured hair, I may need to go through and rinse these off before I finish the process, or most likely before the rest of the hair has developed. Always make sure that you're applying a good amount of product to the hair so that it is really well evenly covered. If your client has previously had their hair coloured and they've got quite damaged hair already, you could use what's known as a porosity leveler. This will help to even out the porosity and help the colour to develop evenly throughout the hair, and ensuring that the hair is protected throughout your service. Whilst today I am only using a bleach product, you can use colour, and you may also be using more than one product. You may be using a colour and a bleach on your client's hair to create some fashion effects and create a different finish on your client's hair. So you do need to remember and be aware of what pattern it is that you're using those colours in. Now, as I come to the flat of the head, I'm going to start using my comb in the foil, and I'm going to place that comb into the hair, and I'm going to put the hair between my middle and my forefinger and thumb to hold that foil nice and tight in place. Once I've applied that colour or that bleach just below the edge of the foil, again I should be able to take my hand away and that foil should stay in place. Your clean section is really, really important when you're foiling, to make sure that you get even weaves, even distribution of the colour. Once we've finished the section and folded the last foil in place, I'm going to clip that hair out of the way so it's nice and clean and tidy. And as you'll see when I turn the head round, then isn't going to impact the next section that I'm going to be working on. also means that because I'm not stretching over from the back of the head, I can get closer to the root, which means a longer lasting colour for my client. Please remember when you are foiling that it is still really important that you've got your full PPE on. You must still be wearing your gloves. There is still a risk, even though you're putting it into the foils, that you may get it onto your skin. At this point, I would now check how long it's taking me to put the foils in, as this will give me an indicator, one, of what time I've finished, but two, of how long the first foils in the back section have been in. So I would now go back and check my back foils to see how their development is and see whether they might need to come out before the rest of them. Then I would be recording the time I finished so that I know when to check, following my manufacturer's instructions, the colour. I can clip the foils out of my client's way just so that they're not sitting on her face. Okay. Also, always remember to put the shiny side of your foil on the outside. Go. Okay, so now we're going to do the removal of our foils. I'm going to start working at the back, and I'm going to take the foil where we folded in half and remove. If we were working with more than one colour on the head, I would be rinsing the foils in between to ensure that we didn't get any colour staining onto the bleach or onto the other colours mixing. Make sure that those foils are being put out of the way and not straight into the basin, because they'll block your basin and it's not tidy working space. Take the foils away from the face so that they don't end up sitting on the client's face. And be aware when you're taking them out not to pull. We'd always start at the bottom with the foils if we'd done a full head. So start on the foils furthest back from the head. Check your water temperature. And use your hand to cup the water to avoid splashing your client's face. The water onto the colour is going to stop the colour from developing. Once you've thoroughly rinsed the hair, we're going to use our colour shampoo to help protect the colour and keep it lasting longer, and to ensure the removal of all of the colour from the hair. Make sure you work right the way down to the nape of the neck. And always do your 2 shampoos. Evenly distributing that shampoo throughout the hair. Make sure when you're taking off your foils, you've still got your PPE on. Once all of the shampoo has been thoroughly rinsed out of the hair, give the hair a squeeze and towel dry. And apply your antioxidant conditioner. This is going to help to close that cuticle, making sure we only apply to the mid-lengths and ends. Comb the hair through to ensure that there's no knots. Use your massage techniques and rinse. Once all the conditioner has been rinsed out, squeeze any excess water out of the hair. Towel dry again, ready to take your client over to the basin.